Greetings, one and all, and welcome to the podcast where nothing makes sense. Off topic. Here we start with the singular topic and end up talking about anything and everything that strikes our ADHD-addled fancy. I am joined this week by both Cosmo and Cameron as we discuss those twisted and confusing thought experiments that make up the controversial topic of paradoxes, and by extension, all things logic. So, I do want to have an apology to our viewers that we have not gotten around to recording in almost a month. Things happened.
Apologies, pal.
Yeah, I just hadn't done the research I needed to do yet. And
I'm busy being a nerd.
Yeah, and they're busy being nerds. So, Isaac is completely off the board for the next couple of months too. He's absolutely swamped. So. There is a reason. We're not just lazy. We've been doing it. Well, they're not just lazy. I just didn't feel like doing the research I needed to do for this episode. But I got around to doing it last night, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna commit to doing this. All right. So, logic, paradoxes. I am going to open this with a fun fact about myself. In middle school. Because I was homeschooled, but I went to a study center, which for those of you who don't know, it's basically you go there and you get tutored there as opposed to tutors coming to your house. I took not a mandatory, but like it was required for like the study center. I took a logic class throughout all of middle school. And it was really interesting, and I don't remember if I remember any of it. But that was definitely something that I did. It was interesting.
I don't remember personally doing like a logic class. Oh, really? Until like college with like discrete math.
Yeah.
But like, I knew what and or gates were at least.
Yeah.
I don't know. I gotta stop. I'm thinking math logic.
Yeah, well, a lot of what we're gonna be talking about is gonna be, well, not a lot of, but about half of it is gonna be math logic.
Something I know, even though I strongly dislike math and chemistry. I really hate chemistry. Oh my god.
I didn't think. Well, I had chemistry during COVID, so I can't say much about that.
I've had to take 2 chem classes last semester and this semester. I'm not doing that well on the recent test. I don't like chem. It's not neat. My major is very broad, so unfortunately, it's the specific part of my major I won't go into. I'm probably gonna need less of chem, or maybe no chem if I'm lucky. I'm all life science, by the way. I'm trying to do field research, but I gotta take so many classes. At least next semester will be more specific.
I used to love chemistry, and then our high school teacher ruined it for me. I've already told the story. Maybe not on the podcast, but I've told you guys about it.
Yeah.
I have complained obsessively about that teacher. That he was an awful teacher.
I'm trying
I remember you talking about it. I think I remember.
Yeah. I'm not going to say his name because...
Yeah, I know.
The plant one? The plant one?
No.
Okay, so it's not the one who were in that plant club.
1, 2, 3, go.
What do you mean 1, 2, 3, go?
Okay, that's probably not them then.
Wait, can you text me?
It doesn't matter. Remember. It doesn't matter. Here, I'll.
we're playing Taboo here.
It doesn't matter. Here, I'll do it.
No, I'm not going to say his name.
Here. Anyway. Like text chat. Anyway, never mind.
Yeah, I sent it in the VC chat.
Let's see. Oh, that one. I don't think. Wait, no, I did have him.
Yeah, no, that's the one I was trying to reference. But
yeah. Oh no, I do know what you're talking about with the 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, he played
sidetracked
all the time or whatever.
Off topic.
Complaining about high school teachers. Yay!
I had them and them first.
He was the only high school teacher that I had a problem with.
Okay.
Anyway, logic, interestingly enough, becomes in, well, when you're talking about the study of like reasoning comes in formal and informal logic. I don't remember the differences between them, so I have it pulled up here. Formal logic is a stuck.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and informal logic. Anyway, formal logic is the study of deductively valid inferences or logical truths.
Ooh, I could talk about social deduction.
Yeah, that is logic. Informal logic is associated with fallacies, critical thinking, and argumentation theory.
Oh my god.
So I don't remember which one is which, but one of them dealt with, I think it was formal logic, dealt with like a lot of if then statements, or not necessarily if then statements, but like if A is true, or I'm trying to remember what it was. If A is B and B is C, then A is C, or something like that.
Yeah, that's transmutative property.
Yeah. So
yeah, so like different like operations don't have that property actually, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, and then dealing with like the fact that sometimes if A is B, B is, or if A is B and C is B, A is not C, or something weird like that. I don't remember.
Yeah, it's
like when you rearrange them, but it was a lot of if this is this and this is this, then this is or is not this.
That was a sentence.
Yeah. I don't know, it made plenty of sense in my head.
Yeah, sure. You go ahead and think that.
It made sense to me.
Okay. All I heard was this and that and this and this is this and that is this.
Yeah, pretty much. That's pretty much what I said. Yeah. And then informal logic was a lot more about discussing like fallacies, which are like more like critical thinking, where it's like slippery slope fallacies. I remember that. The straw man fallacy, stuff like that, where like I remember the straw man was like you set up their argument as though it were as something that's really easy to knock down. So kind of like rephrase whatever they phrased into a way that is very clearly not like a correct thing. Yeah, sorry, my internet is wacko. It's not connecting all the time and it's being stupid.
Nice.
I did talk through that entire thing though.
Okay.
So
yeah, I concur.
Yeah.
With whatever you said.
I was talking about about fallacies.
Yeah, I love fallacies. They're so fun.
Just because it's into the podcast theme, like paradoxes and stuff. The book I'm reading for a book report, I just read the line. The paradoxical relationship between planning and chance is best described by Dwight D. Eisenhower's famous remark about warfare. In preparing for battle, I found that planning is essential, but the plans are useless.
Yeah, that's a good point. So I did a whole bunch of research on various types of paradoxes.
I did an entire assignment where I looked at videos of flat earthers and found the fallacies.
Yeah,
you said paradoxes though, so I
but we can talk about fallacies. I don't have much to talk about it, but if you want to talk about it, go ahead.
No, we can start with yours. Start with your paradoxes.
No, because we were already on fallacies, and once we get into paradoxes, it's just going to be basically nothing but paradoxes for the rest of the episode. Not as a rule, but just kind of like that's the way it's going to flow, because all of these paradoxes flow into each other.
Well, I do have like two funny fallacies that I thought were funny. They're pretty funny fallacies.
Are they just like wives' tales fallacies?
There's like the fallacy, where just because it's a fallacy doesn't mean it's wrong.
Yeah.
Basically, like if someone uses like any fallacy at all, you point it out and say, "Oh yeah, your entire argument is null now," because you used a single fallacy, which is a fallacy in itself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. And I feel like people do that a lot too. Oh boy, my connection may have gone to shit again. Or are you guys just being quiet?
He's gone. Did you hear
I'm
anything
back.
I said?
I heard you mention a fallacy. Do
Yes.
you want to pull up OBS and record from your side too?
That's a crazy idea. Yes, I'll do
All right.
that.
Anyway,
Imagine being able to have OBS in your
You'll have to
computer.
stitch it together.
yeah, I know it's gonna be fucking stupid.
Like a doctor. Medic.
Start recording. Oh shoot.
Evidence in blue is just a big paradox.
Okay, I think I'm recording.
All right.
Hopefully.
Sorry, viewers,
What I
for
was
the
saying-
technical difficulties.
There's a fallacy. So like there's an angel on your shoulder and a devil on your shoulder.
Yeah.
Like those typical like thing. Someone made a script.
I just have
in
two
our-
Faye.
Someone made a script in our like because our improv club does scripts occasionally, and what it was about was you have like an angel on your shoulder, the devil on your shoulder, but the entire joke was that there was another guy who was just like the centrist on your shoulder. And one of the
Alien in your mind.
and when the angel was saying something like "this is morally wrong," they shouted out, "Appeal to morality. That's a fallacy." And it was really
Really, I'm just an alien piloting a human flesh suit, so I don't got them angels and devils. I got them Fae and aliens on me.
Honestly, that's a mood.
That came out wrong. On my shoulders. I would say on my shoulders.
did like a little
I'm
alien
built.
sound effect.
I'm built different. I'm built wrong.
I'm not built different. I'm built stupid.
Built stupid. Our whole friend group is built stupid.
We're all just the
Whoa.
Russian Magic friend group, but college students.
Yeah, literally.
Changed my mind. I'm not wrong.
Huh?
Yeah, pretty much.
So those are some funny
One of your
fallacies
streams,
that
we should
I
definitely do a
felt
repo. That'd be fun.
to
No, that's why I
feed
haven't.
into
That's why I
the
haven't
podcast.
played it yet. Is because I want to do it for stream. Anyway, paradoxes. Let's define Let's define paradoxes.
Bullshit. That's what they are.
Yeah.
I'm a paradox
I love
hater. I hate
paradoxes.
paradoxes
I
so
love
much.
paradoxes, unless it's
give me
time
headache.
paradoxes. I hate time.
Time is even
Temporal
worse. I
paradoxes
hate
are
time
so much
travel.
fun.
I
That's the
wish
one
the
paradox.
time stuff would just die. Like, I hate to a point where I made a character that I sometimes see a bit as myself. I made them just immune to time stuff. So, say dimensions have like time discrepancies. So say a few minutes of that dimension is like a
Oh,
few years
no.
in this one. They, when they're in that few minute dimension, you could see them aging the same rate as they would at a sped up rate, basically.
Okay.
Because they're connected to the plane.
That one D&D player who remembers every single detail, and every time you say something again and it's slightly different, they're like, that's slightly different.
That's just called a note taker.
Yeah.
I love that nobody in our D&D group is a note taker. It's funny.
I try to be sometimes, but it's a pain in my butt, and I'm lazy, and also my mind is ADHD. So if I don't
That's not
feel
the
like
point of
doing
D&D
something,
to
it's a
take
pain,
notes.
which is why I'm forcing myself to read this goddamn book.
What
Maybe we'll get
was
good
the
though. It
thing?
says rocks and fossils.
What was the thing that we came up with? Was it the retcon gun or something like that? It only pops up when you need to retcon something.
Goddamn retcon gun. I hate that. Or was it Mr.
Drop
Retcon?
something.
I can't remember.
Mr. Retcon. I need a retcon.
Actually, wait, no,
gun.
that's actually a guy from a series. I think Rick and Morty.
Probably.
Retcon or something. I don't even watch that show. I
Retcon.
just see so many stupid clips because the internet spams those and I don't even like them.
Yeah.
Rick and Morty fans, please don't kill me.
Don't know
You guys
balls.
might like it. It's just not my jam. I don't like temporal time shit.
I hate time stuff too.
I don't know. I think it's interesting, but that's a discussion for another day.
Gives me headaches.
Paradoxes. What's
Paradoxes.
the definition
A
again?
paradox is a logically self-contradictory statement or a statement that runs contrary to one's expectation. A statement that, despite apparently valid reasoning from true or apparently true premises, leads to a seemingly self-contradictory or illogically unacceptable conclusion. Usually involves contradictory yet interrelated elements that exist simultaneously and persist over time. They result in persistent contradictions between interdependent elements, leading to a lasting unity of opposites.
F is equal
Is
to not
undeath
F.
technically a paradox?
What's
Is, like, being
technically a
undead
paradox?
paradox? Being undead. Is that technically a paradox?
The term
Undead,
undead by
yeah.
itself is, in and of itself, paradoxical.
I think that's called an
Because like
oxymoron.
you're not dead, but you're not
Yeah, an
alive.
oxymoron. That's the word I was looking for.
A figure of
so-
speech with apparently contradictory terms appear in conjunction.
Schrodinger's cat is technically a paradox.
Yeah,
Yes, it
well,
is.
That's
Well,
like quantum physics,
Even
though.
though,
Yeah, that's
even if you know though the cat is dead, it's still a paradox. It's weird.
You just don't know
But
it.
also
You don't.
fact.
It's not a paradox because there is a state of the cat. You just don't know what it is.
But until you open it, it's nothing. Like Helsing shows it pretty well. I feel like Helsing Ultimate.
yeah.
Great
I
show, by
loved
the way.
Helsing. I loved Helsing Ultimate so much.
And I'm not
Yes,
talking
yes,
about
yes,
Bridge.
yes.
I like the Bridge. It's funny, but the original show has so much more deeper meaning, and it actually does some paradox stuff really well.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm passionate about this. Okay.
So
The contradictions are like borderline paradoxes in my book, technically. I like contradictions sometimes. It's weird.
funny you say that because I'm literally looking at the word contradiction. Common elements in paradoxes: self-reference, contradiction, and infinite regress are core elements of many paradoxes. Other common elements include circular definitions and confusing or equivocation between different levels of abstraction. So self-reference is when something refers to itself, such as in the Liars or Barber paradoxes, which we will discuss later. I have an entire list of paradoxes that I found and familiarized myself with. Contradiction is a core feature. The statement cannot be false and true at the same time. In the case of the liar paradox, this is giving examples with the Liars and Barbers paradoxes again.
has anyone given a paradox to ChatGPT yet?
Oh my gosh, we should try it. We should do it. We should do it. We should run an experiment.
ChatGPT. I gotta.
While you do that, I'm gonna read off this last thing. Infinite regress, non-terminating recursion, which is circular reasoning.
This statement is false.
What statement?
Ah, you got yourself tangled in a classic paradox. The statement,
Damn.
this statement is false, is a well-known example of a liar paradox. If the statement is true, then it must be false. But if it's false, then it must be true. And it creates a loop that doesn't resolve neatly. Pretty mind-bending, right? ChatGPT, that's really cringe.
Honestly,
Speaking
like,
of paradoxes and contradictions, I will say there's a occasion where I do like paradoxes or contradictions, and it's when the character realizes it. Like the character realizes they're giving themselves a contradiction, a paradox that they're doing. For instance, people may not realize it, but I kind of see Castlevania, the show, as a contradiction, specifically Dracula. Like the whole show, you're thinking, oh, he's just going for revenge. Oh, he's a sad old man that just wants to kill humanity, revenge for his wife. And then his son says something that really clicks. This is history's longest suicide note.
Damn.
He wasn't trying to live. He wasn't trying to get revenge by killing others. He was trying to kill himself. And he only himself realized that
when he entered his boy's old room while fighting his son, realizing, I'm killing my boy. I'm killing our greatest creation. The quote he said during that time, godly, one of my favorite quotes of all time, as he realized he was contradicting himself several times over before he died.
Yeah.
Damn.
So what I was gonna say about the ChatGPT thing is I bet it's because ChatGPT is familiar with those paradoxes because they're so popular on the internet. If we could come up with a completely new paradox and hand it to ChatGPT, something that it has no reference for, I wonder what it would say.
Coming up with a completely new paradox is
AI should know.
difficult. Quite the difficult task.
No, it is. I do not expect us to do such. But somebody out there, some logician who I know you're watching us. You should come up with a new paradox and feed it to ChatGPT and see what it says.
You know,
Swear,
if I ever
the
come
output of
reject
ChatGPT
those
makes more
free
paradoxes than I think it
Yeah, no, ask ChatGPT to make a new paradox.
Oh, that's a great idea. Oh, I can't do it. I don't have an account.
Fuck.
Shit.
AI should die.
Uh,
If you use AI, if your AI user die. I mean AI is in like, you know what? I'm an artist, okay? And a writer. I get using AI to correct stuff, but using AI to
Yeah.
write stories and do art, I want to murder those people.
Yeah.
But also, I love that basic BBNO $sign. Maybe no money. He's
Yeah.
dissing all AI artists right now. They're all pissed at him, and I love that. And also, Studio Ghibli is suing an AI artist app. I shouldn't even say artists. They're not artists. They're users. That's all they are. They don't create stuff.
I had a funny thing with I have like a
Anyway,
group project for like a thing, and it's programming, right? So we were asking, like, there was a problem with something someone implemented, right? A feature someone implemented. So we were asking what did you do? Why do you think it's working? Because you made the code. He used ChatGPT to make the code.
You think coders know their own code? You're
So
crazy.
no one knew how to solve it.
That's stupid.
Coders don't even know their own code. Prove me wrong. They do something and they don't really know how to do it.
All right, so
We are getting off topic.
yes, paradoxes.
Hey,
Um,
are we a paradox?
yes, we are paradoxes.
Are things off topic, but we try and stay on topic? Well, we're meant to go off topic, but we try and stay on topic. And so,
Wait, you might have something there. You
That's
might have
deep.
something there. You might have something there. It's just an example. It feels like an example of the barber's paradox, which I might as well unsheath now.
Barbara
perfect
paradox?
segue. I totally meant to do that.
Barber paradox. The barber is paradox. The barber is the one who shaves all those, and those only, who do not shave themselves. The question is, does the barber shave himself? The barber cannot shave himself, as he shaves only those who do not shave themselves. Thus, if he shaves himself, he ceases to be the barber specified. Conversely, if the barber does not shave himself, then he fits into the group of people who the specified barber would shave, and thus, as that barber, he must shave himself.
Is the barber named Barbara?
I don't know. It's saying himself, so I don't think it's a I don't think it's a woman. I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah, the minute it becomes a female barber, the paradox becomes invalid. They don't grow beards, although they can be shaved, I guess, because of areas and haircuts. So it's really a paradox, no matter how you look at it, huh?
Yeah.
I don't like paradoxes.
Well,
Paradox.
why'd you show up for this episode then? You should have been like, well, I came down with some sickness at the last moment.
I like hanging out with you. I actually did considering saying I can't do it today. I have so much work. Then I was just like, I want to talk to you guys. You're my friend.
Paradox. More like pair of socks.
Pair of socks? More like paradox.
Man, is that you?
Pair
Well,
of
you can't change
Crocs.
But why is it paradox? Does it have something? I guess there's a pair of outcomes
Para
in between the two.
and
I would
dog.
say, yeah, I would
Probably
say,
those two words.
I would assume it came from para. Paradox.
And maybe the pair of
Paradox
outcomes were also
etymology.
getting doxed.
Okay.
That
The
would
word
Amiss
paradox.
irregular. It means in Greek amiss irregular. Beside.
be amiss.
The response I got, although this is in the AI overview, but it seems pretty legitimate, and I'm seeing other stuff that
Obviously, yeah.
says similar stuff. Comes from the Greek word paradoxos, meaning contrary to expectation, formed from the para, meaning beyond or contrary to, and doxa, meaning opinion.
So basically what I said already.
Yeah, you had worded it slightly differently. You had said,
I only did the para part. I didn't do the doxa part.
yeah. So it literally means contrary to expectation.
Nice.
I did come across something interesting. And this is gonna be like a whole little thing of itself. Is the concept of set theory. So this is more mathematical paradoxes.
Oh,
Yes.
I know set theory.
Yes. So, there were quite a few instances of set theory paradoxes. The couple I came across were Russell's paradox and Curry's paradox, and then something called the Banach-Tarski paradox. Tarski paradox.
Well,
and then
in reality, there's an entire so when you're trying to prove like a statement, right?
Yeah.
You'll frequently you'll prove proof by contradiction, where you basically try to force a paradox to happen using like a stuff,
Yeah.
and then because they can't exist at the same time, you know that must be false, and usually that means what you're trying to prove is true.
Interesting.
So there's like plenty of mathematical examples, paradoxes, I guess. But continue.
Yeah. Let me pull up these articles I have about Russell's and Curry's paradoxes because I do not 100% recall what they were about. Let R be the set of all sets that are not members of themselves. If R is not a member of itself, then the definition entails that it is a member of itself. Yet if it is a member of itself, then it is not a member of itself. Since it is the set of all sets that are not members of themselves.
Can you hear my whistling?
No.
That's annoying.
Not
It's
currently.
canceling out the noise.
I did hear it earlier. No.
Hi, welcome back.
I'm back. I just defined it and you guys missed it.
Super interesting.
I know. So fascinating.
Wow.
No. So
Fascinating.
it goes as such. Let R be the set of all sets that are not members of themselves, sometimes called the Russell set. If R is not a member of itself, then its definition entails that it is a member of itself. Yet if it is a member of itself, then it is not a member of itself, since it is the set of all sets that are not members of themselves. Informal
I think I'd
presentation.
understand it better in equation format. But that's just because I'm a nerd.
Yeah. If you look up Russell's paradox on Wikipedia, like within the first,
I
you
know
don't even have
someone
to
named
scroll down at
Russell.
all. You don't even have to scroll down at all. It gives you both that definition and the not
Yeah, I see it.
mathematical definition, but the the thing right there.
Let R equal x such that x is not an x. Yeah. Yep, that's paradox.
Yep. It reminds me of similar. I don't know if this is just me being crazy or like I mean all paradoxes remind me of each other because they're all very similar. They all run on the same kind of inversion to logic. That's not the word I'm looking for. What was the word I was looking for?
Logical, no.
I don't know. They don't logic.
They don't logic.
But by not logicking, they do logic.
Wow.
I
know. I was gonna say something. I completely lost it.
You forgot something?
Awful goal. Oh yeah, there's a funny thing. We're learning about like physical like hardware in a computer,
Yeah.
and basically there's like non-sequential and sequential circuits, right?
Mm-hmm.
And non-sequential is just like a bunch of logic gates. There's an input and it has a fixed output. But sequential is when you have like it stored somewhere. And the most simple sequential circuit is a wire connected to itself through an inverter. So it's always flipping between true and false. So it's basically F equals not F, which is a paradox. I
Yeah.
think.
That reminds me of literally just redstone loops or redstone clocks in Minecraft. That's exactly what that is.
I heard Minecraft.
When you hook up a redstone torch to itself,
And there goes.
I'm back. I'm back already.
This
Don't
is
worry.
gonna be such a janky episode.
when you hook up a wire to itself through a redstone torch, it's just
No, that's
the
what I literally
paradox.
that's what I literally just said.
That's what I just said.
Yeah, it reminds me of a redstone clock where it's literally just by turning itself off it turns itself back on or whatever, or turning itself on it turns itself back off, or however you wish to word that.
Yeah, but it's like useful because it allows time to come into the picture.
Yep.
Which is how that's resolved in real life. But in a math equation, it doesn't really work.
Let me see. What is this? The Curry's paradox.
Different types of paradoxes. Oh yeah, that's a good paradox. That's a good paradox.
What is?
The ship of Theseus.
Yes, I have that
Oh,
pulled
that
up
one.
right here.
That one's actually technically been answered.
Well, what's the answer?
I'm gonna let you explain to the viewers first before I say the answer. Spoilers.
All
duh.
right, all right, all right, all right. The ship of Theseus. You have a ship, right? And you're using the ship, but as it goes on, it wears out, and you have to replace all the boards. And eventually, you have the ship so that every single board, every single part of the ship has been replaced. Is it the same ship, or is it completely
And
different?
on top of that, if you were to take those broken boards and build them into a new ship, is that the ship? That's the part about the ship of Theseus paradox that I really like, that not a lot of people bring up, is that by like it adds more depth to the paradox. And I think therein lies the lack of a true definite, or not definition, but a true answer. But Cameron, what was your conclusion of the answer is?
So technically the answer is whatever ship he's standing on.
Like,
Because think about it. If he is on it, it is his ship. So it's whatever ship he's on at the time.
well,
They're both his ship and not. That part is a paradox. But whatever ship he stands on at the time is his ship. And what's funny is I got this answer, and it actually makes sense to me. I got this answer from a very old DSMP fanfic. I wish that was a joke, but the answer makes sense.
I would like to argue that I don't know, because if like that makes sense. Like if the question is which one is his ship, right? Then you could say whatever he owns, right? But this is which is the ship, which is the same ship.
Yeah. It's not a question of whose ship it is, it's a question of the ship's identity. And this is
Which is the ship?
yeah.
They both are and they both aren't.
Well, that's the
It's
point
that
of the
simple.
paradox.
Are you still you even if you grew up? Your body's changed completely. You don't look like you do when you're a kid. Are
Oh
you still
yeah,
you
could
though?
That was
that is a good parallel because like a lot like wait actually I'm not sure if that's true. I'm not gonna say it 'cause I
Or
don't know
take
if
for the
it's true.
tin man. All his parts were replaced. Is he still himself?
Yeah.
Or is the dead parts him?
Well, if you replace his brain, it's probably not him anymore.
But he still acts the same. He still is the same. He's still himself
if you
inside.
copied the brain over, then yes, it would still be the Tin Man.
But it's not his parts anymore. So is it him?
I'd say
Exactly.
the identity. Okay, the
yeah,
identity of a person is like in their brain, right? But what is the identity of a ship?
exactly. That's what
Where?
I was gonna say. Is that the
Because if we
it's
put that
And
into
his
like the
captain.
label they put on the ship, right?
yeah.
And his
Like
captain is where the
the
identity
Big
of the
Bertha
ship.
or something. I don't know what you'd name a ship.
Like
Then and
without a
if
captain,
whichever
ship
ship is
doesn't have
labeled
identity.
that is the ship.
I like to
Or
argue
yeah,
that
in
if it
Cameron's
doesn't have a
case,
captain, it might not have an identity. This
yeah, I
paradox
think
is very deep if you like
but
to think about it. It's
if it's
actually
the
one of the ones I
captain,
enjoy.
but if
I don't
it's the
normally enjoy
captain,
paradoxes. I do like this.
but if it's the captain, does that mean every single one of his ships is the same? No.
Yeah.
No.
I feel like
But without the captain, they don't have an identity. They might have different identities within the captain, but without the captain, they'd lose those.
But if the captain has multiple ships, right? Which one's the
Yes,
ship?
they're all the ships. They may be
Yeah,
different,
but
but they're all
what
the
if they're
ships.
all
But
they're
without the
all like
captain, I feel like you're not listening to what I'm saying. Without the captain, they lose their identities. They may have different
yeah,
identities, but you can't have that without the captain.
I think you can.
I was gonna say I believe that you can, because if you were to take that ship and thousands of years later it's sitting in a museum, is it still the ship of Theseus even though Theseus is dead?
I have another thing to add actually. What if the captain
It was a
dies?
ship he had, but it might not be his ship anymore. It's a
What
museum
if the
then.
captain dies, right? Say you have a ship, right? The captain owns the ship. Captain dies, but the captain's son, but gets the ship. This is the same ship because it's made of the same stuff.
It's no longer his ship. It's now the son's ship.
Yeah, but the question is it the same ship?
Yeah,
Like,
that's the
yes, it
I think
is.
that's where you're getting stuck, is that you're trying to define it by whose ship it is. It's not a question of whose ship it is, it's a question of whether the ship is still itself.
The ship physically is itself. Yes.
But is it still
But
itself if it no longer contains any of the same pieces?
that's the question. It can be and cannot be. It's a
I'd
paradox.
say that it depends. If everyone agrees it's the same ship, then it's the same ship. If people are like, no, this is a different ship, or people forget about the ship and then to rediscover it later, then no, it's not the same ship.
Yeah.
What you
So
said makes no sense.
I mean, it's really all about defining what is the same ship, and
I was gonna say yeah.
I'm gonna define it as how people see the ship itself. So if you replace every part, but if it's called the same thing, if everyone refers to it, everyone remembers it by the same kind of thing, then yes, it's the same ship.
Yeah. That's how I would define it as well. Or in the case of, so yeah, I would
With
say often it comes down to, unfortunately enough, what society says it
The
is.
masses. Society
Yeah,
sucks.
society sucks, but it oftentimes, and this speaks into a much larger like concept, but like society is often incredibly important because it often will be the thing that defines what something is. um and while I hate that we live in a society, just like Chuckles, I hate that we live in a society. um I think that it's a vitally important piece of being a human being.
Indubitably.
There's
Indubitably.
there's a thing
Indubitably.
that's actually named as a paradox. Its name means paradoxically scaled amphibian. Lepidosiren paradoxa.
What?
It has lungs, but it has scales and fins like a fish. Lungs like a land animal. Lungfishes.
Oh, interesting. Actually, I think I've heard of
People
those
consider
before.
them. Scientists used to consider them a cross between an amphibian and a fish, while locals just found them delicious. It's fascinating.
Honestly, that
I'm
sounds
actually
about right.
vibing with this book now.
Honestly valid.
And also,
I
Viewers, if you're wondering what book I'm reading that I'm making all these comments from, Your Inner Fish, Neil Schubin. I'm reading it for assignment.
Fish.
it happens to apply very well to this podcast.
Yes. So along the same line of Ship of Theseus, where you're looking at the identity of something, is the Sorites paradox. Also known as the paradox of the heap. If you were to and it goes as such, if you were to take a handful of sand, and call that a heap, that's a heap of sand. You remove one grain of sand, that is still a heap of sand. At what point is it no longer a heap of sand?
I'd say
Or we don't consider it
once you
one.
have 3 grains of sand, it's not a heap.
At least 3.
I mean,
Yeah, at
we
least
consider
3.
heaps like a pile of something. So once it stops being a pile, once it starts being like flatter or
Yeah,
something
I
different,
say 3
or
because
beyond a small pile,
with 4
it
you can
becomes
do a
something.
little pyramid, right? That's like stacked on top of each other. So that's a heap.
4 grains of. Do you know how small grains of sand are? Or can
Yes.
be?
Yes.
And you're calling 4 a heap.
Yes.
This is like when Shadow asked Omega to
I
count all
mean,
the grains of
if
sand in
you
the desert.
okay, if you implement a heap object in like Java or something, and you have 4 things in the heap, then it's a heap.
Yeah, but we're talking about. Well, I guess that's fair, but still, we're talking about grains of sand. A heap.
Yeah, I guess.
We're using heap as a measurement, not as a structure.
Usually
Yeah,
that
for
is
the
like
heap.
if it was a measurement, then it's like usually when it's like overflowing a bit, like piled up on something. So a heaping spoonful is when instead of like being level with the top of the spoon, it's piled up a little.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I have a
my answer is
tendency to
4.
make
At least
heaping
4.
tablespoons of peanut butter when
at
making
least 4.
sandwich.
Interesting. Yeah, well,
I'd see
because
it as like a pile overflowing the container.
the exact wording for this goes: 1,000,000 grains of sand is a heap of sand. That's the first premise. A heap of sand minus 1 grain is still a heap. That's the second premise. And then it goes, that will continue to spiral down until you have 1 grain of sand. And is that
So
still a
wait,
heap? And it's once
rules.
again it's
The
once
rules.
again the rules. The rules?
The rules are the million is a heap, and a heap minus 1 is a heap.
Yes.
Oh, this is just mathematical induction.
Yeah.
There's there's a thing when you're trying to prove a formula in math. Oh, wow, I keep mentioning proofs. if you want to prove something, you prove it as like a base case, like you prove it at 0, right?
Yeah.
And then you prove it that x plus 1 is equal to what it should, like the function where all the x's are replaced with x plus 1. and that proves that's induction. That proves it. Like kind of so like 1 is a number. X plus 1 is also a number, and so you know that 1 plus is a number. Like everything after 1 and over
Yeah.
is a number, right?
Yeah.
That's like so. If
But
in
something
this
I find
scenario, that means 0 grains of sand is a heap of sand.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm
mathematically,
just
but
thinking about it
physically,
too.
it's not. No, I see your logic. Mathematically, 0 would still be a heap of sand.
Negative 57 would
But
be a heap of sand.
Negative 57
but-
grains of sand is
The
crazy.
thing is, that's only sound mathematically. Physically, that doesn't follow the same logic, unfortunately.
Physically, I say 4.
This guy say when it starts to overflow the container, that's when it starts to go beyond like the edges of a container. That's
I
a
don't
heap.
think
What if
I don't think we're talking about heaping. I think we're talking about a heap. So like if you take a handful of it, not like a
I wasn't
container
I wasn't
full of
thinking
it.
container.
That's
I
not a
was
heap. That's a
thinking
handful.
I
Okay.
was thinking like
At
you
what
just
point
had a
does it
pile.
stop being a handful of sand? Because
When your hand isn't full of sand.
how many
Yeah,
sand
he's
grains
got a
is that?
good
Because,
point.
no, because if you have a thin film of sand over the top of your hand still, that's not considered a handful of sand.
I consider that a handful. I mean, just
Is
feeling
It's when you close your hand, is your hand full of sand inside?
It's approximately 1 cup.
At approximately 1 cup, it is no longer a heap of sand.
No, approximately 1 cup is a hand of a handful.
Oh,
a hand of sand.
a hand of sand.
I mean,
what are you, Sandman?
we don't need exact
would-
measurements.
I'm not Spider-Man,
Who's
bro.
using exact measurements to measure what a heap of sand is?
Who knows?
Scientists. Science majors are crazy. I'm a science major. I'm crazy. Anyways, you know what's something I find annoyingly contradictory and paradoxical? When you look for something, you won't find it, but when you don't look for it, you will.
Yeah, that's the.
For instance,
who's
I was
literally
looking for
every
certain
riddle
insect
ever.
orders for my entomology project last semester. You know what I found a week ago after lab for diversity of life?
the thing you were looking for.
I found a winter stonefly. I caught it, of course, because I'm gonna probably retake entomology eventually for a better grade. But I'm so annoyed. Like when you're not looking for it, you just find it, and it's so stupid.
Yeah, there's a lot of weird stuff like that. Like, I don't
Or
know why
like
this popped in my mind, but like
you walk into a room and
things
you forget what you're doing.
like you've never heard of something before, right? You hear
Yeah,
about it
I know what you're
once,
talking
you
about,
can't
yeah.
stop hearing. You can't stop rehearing about it.
Yeah, like something you never noticed before, you keep noticing now. Or getting such a deja vu when it's something you have never ever heard of before, and you know you've never heard of it before, but you still get deja vu from it.
I'll get deja vu and I'm like, oh, I've just done this before. Wait a minute, I can't have done this before. Wait
Yeah.
a minute.
We had an
Like,
episode where we
Hey,
discussed
I've watched
deja
this
vu.
video before. I
No,
watched this video like 4 years back. It was
Ev-
posted 4 days ago.
Every time I get deja vu, I have the same exact reaction every single time. I'm like,
Oh.
wait, I couldn't have. And then I proceed to go like, maybe I can tell the future. And then I'm like, no, this isn't working. It's literally my thought process every single time I get deja vu.
Deja vu is a paradox in itself.
I don't think
Deja
it's
vu is
a
fun.
paradox, but it's definitely an interesting piece of physiology, psychophysiology.
Speaking of interesting like that,
You know what else is interesting? Uncanny Valley. Because did we evolve that just from animals mimicking human noises, or did we evolve it from something more, something that looked human but wasn't quite human, or things that looked like animals but weren't quite the same? As a paradox, it's a paradox that we never can find out things we want to know about the past because always we don't know always what's 100% right, and we can't figure it out, or like why these things happen. Like sometimes you just can't figure them out, and it's such a annoying thing. Like I want to know why I have like serious uncanny valley effects. especially in dreams. Why do my dreams never get any canine right, and I get such an uncanny valley effect from them? I'll never know.
So, do we want to talk about
Are
temporal
dreams a paradox?
paradoxes, or are we gonna avoid those?
We should talk about
We should
Said we
talk
should.
about them.
I just want to rant about how
Like,
bad they are, honestly.
I detest them with my entire being because it's
Okay.
so stupid.
If we going
The
down
kick
this
is
route,
stone and
there
the
will be
butterfly
rants.
effect stupid.
All right, hold on. We will discuss temporal paradoxes last. There are two things I want to bring up before because we only have like 10 minutes left. In the episode. I mean, we could go a little longer, but that's about. We usually cap it at about an hour.
Yeah.
Two things real quick. Both of these are funny. One of them. This is what gave me the idea for this, because Noah, who has been on this podcast before and is in this Discord, just simply refuses to make time for us. Mentioned something called the Rick Astley paradox.
I'm gonna
I think
leave.
I've heard of this before.
So if you ask, there he goes.
Yeah. I've heard of this before.
Yeah, if you ask Rick Astley for a copy of the movie Up, a paradox occurs because he will never give you up, but by never giving you up, he is letting you down.
Great paradox.
It's one of the greatest paradoxes. And the other one that I found was, I saw it in a YouTube short, and I found it really interesting. I am going to read this whole thing out. It'll probably take about 2 minutes. It's pretty long, but it's a fictional murder/suicide case. And it is interesting. And is in its not necessarily a paradox in and of itself, but it kind of you'll see. On March 23rd, 1994, a medical examiner viewed the body of Ronald Opus and concluded that he died from a gunshot wound of the head caused by a shotgun. Investigation to that point had revealed that the decedent had jumped from the top of a 10-story building with the intent to commit suicide. He left a note indicating his despondency. As he passed the 9th floor on the way down, his life was interrupted by a shotgun blast through a window, killing him instantly. Neither the shooter nor the decedent were aware that a safety net had been erected at the 8th floor to protect some window washers, and the decedent would most likely not have been able to complete his intent to commit suicide because of this. Ordinarily, a person who sets out to commit suicide and ultimately succeeds, even if the mechanism might not be what they intended, is defined as having committed suicide. That he was shot on the way to a certain death 9 stories below probably would not have changed his mode of death from suicide to homicide, but the fact that his suicide intent would not have been achieved under any circumstances caused the medical examiner to feel that he had a homicide on his hands. Further investigation led to the discovery that the room on the 9th floor whence the shotgun blast emanated was occupied by an elderly man and his wife. He was threatening her with the shotgun because of an interspousal spat and became so upset that he could not hold the shotgun straight. Therefore, when he pulled the trigger, he completely missed his wife and the pellets went through the window, striking the decedent. When one intends to kill subject A but kills subject B in the attempt, one is guilty of the murder of subject B. The old man was confronted with this conclusion, but both he and his wife were adamant in standing that neither of them knew that the shotgun was loaded. It was the longtime habit of the old man to threaten his wife with an unloaded shotgun. He had no intent to murder her, therefore the killing of the decedent appeared then to be an accident. That is, the gun had been accidentally loaded. But further investigation turned up a witness that their son had been seen loading a shotgun approximately 6 weeks prior to the fatal accident. That investigation showed that the mother, the old lady, had cut off her son's financial support, and her son, knowing the propensity of his father to use the shotgun threateningly, loaded the gun with the expectation that the father would shoot his mother. The case now becomes one for the murder on this part of the son for the death of Ronald Opus. Now comes the exquisite twist. It gets better. Further investigation revealed that the son, Ronald Opus himself, had become increasingly despondent over his failure of his attempt to get his mother murdered. This led him to jump off the 10-story building on March 23rd, only to be killed by a shotgun blast through the 9th-story window. The medical examiner closed the case as a suicide.
Oh my god, he literally just killed himself.
Yeah, but, well, his intention was to kill himself, and he killed himself anyway, but it's a whole, everything is all, screwy. It's great.
That is...
Oh!
So he just did a Castlevania, and he did the world's longest suicide.
Wait, so the person who fell off the building originally
The person who jumped off the building was the son that loaded the shotgun.
Basically, in a very roundabout way, he killed himself.
No! That's crazy!
It's not a true story, but it's still
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
fascinating.
That's
Yeah.
yeah. I think that would be considered a suicide.
I
Yeah, that
mean,
would be suicide.
the whole thing is just like jumps from one conclusion to another because it's like it's a suicide. It's an attempted suicide, but it became a homicide because he would not have actually ended up killing himself. Then it became a suicide again. Then it became a homicide again, and then it's just a suicide. It's a whole thing, but I find that so interesting.
That's
It is kind of funny. But the thing is, though, that realistically could happen in real life. It's not impossible.
okay. I can see like everything except the fact that the shotgun was fired at the exact moment when he was falling by a window. Do you know what the time frame for that would be? It would be probably
That's why I
really
say
small.
it could happen. I didn't say it would happen. I just said
Yeah,
it
yeah.
could. There's always a chance.
It could happen, and honestly, crazier things have happened. There
Infinite
was
monkeys
somebody,
on infinite typewriter.
yeah, literally.
Everything will happen eventually.
Well, there was this other story, which is not a paradox. This is getting off topic, but it's fine because that's the name of the podcast. Where apparently this guy was walking underneath a, he was just walking by a building, and he hears my baby, and he looks up, and there's a child falling out of the window, and he catches this child, and a year later, this is a true story, and
Oh,
a year later, he comes back and the same exact thing happens. Like he's just walking by exactly a year later and the same exact thing happens. He catches the same child out of the same window.
what?
Yeah, so crazy shit happens all of the fucking time.
What the hell?
Now the question is it because does it happen because he arrives there, or does he arrive there because the child falls out the window? That's the question.
It's not a paradox,
Which
Cameron. I opened this
way-
saying that.
I know, it'd just be funny, like, what way if the universe controls stuff, what way do the universe want that? Is he drawn there because the child is going to fade to fall out the window? Or is the child fade to fall out the window because he is walking by?
Every time he walks by, that child falls out the window.
The dude's like
Oh,
a super old man, the child a full grown ass adult.
it just
falls out the
lands on
window,
him, crushes his
and kills
bones.
him.
No.
All right. Do we wish to open up the can of worms that is temporal paradoxes, or since it's been almost an hour, do we wish to wrap this up?
Man,
I say we wrap it up.
All right.
please.
All right.
My brain is already fuzzy now.
I am going to choose somebody to host next time. I'm not going to promise that it's next week because that often does not happen.
Next week actually might be better than me for most weeks because it'll be the week after I've had like a test and a bunch of assignments. I don't think I have much to do the week after.
It looks like Cosmo hosted last time.
Really? Oh, I did.
No, Cosmo hosted talking about board games.
Oh, right. I just took control of that because I'm literally in a board game club.
All right. So Cameron, if you wish to, yeah, you have to do the outro now. Good luck. Good luck, buddy.
Okay, actually, I already know what topic we're gonna do next time too. Okay, viewers, that's gonna be all for today. I can't wait to see you
All right.
next week,
Carried
where we'll
away.
talk about something made of stone, something old, ancient. That's right. We'll be talking about fossils. We're also gonna ignore that red left mid-exit intro.
Yeah. Just start again. I tuned back in for fossils. We're doing fossils. That was awful timing.
Cosmo
just-
has it. Cosmo has it. It's
Cosmo
fine.
has it. That's fair. That's fair. This is
Continue.
gonna be such a pain in the ass to edit.
But yeah, we're going to see you guys next time, and don't worry, I won't make too many Undertale jokes.
Nah.
But yeah, that's all for today, y'all. See you next time.